Hi, I'm Justyna from Practice Test Academy. If you're sitting CIMA P1 in the next few weeks, watch this before you do anything else. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Nearly half of candidates fail P1. It's the hardest paper in the whole operational level. But not because the theory is impossible. No. People fail because P1 is calculation accuracy exam with no partial credits. So one small slip can cost you the whole mark. In the next few minutes, we're going to walk you through the 5 calculation errors that cost candidates the most marks, and exactly how to stop making them. Stay to the end because the 5th one catches almost everyone. Let's get to it.
Right, hello there. If you're currently preparing the CIMA P1, you already know it's the absolute toughest hurdle at the operational level. The pass rate hovers right around 53%. And let me tell you, as a tutor, there is quite literally nothing more frustrating than seeing a student who knows the management accounting theory absolutely inside out, only to fail the entire exam because of a tiny slip on the calculator. You see, P1 isn't a test of your theoretical philosophy. It's a brutal, high-stakes test of calculation accuracy. You've got 60 questions, the clock is ticking, and there is absolutely no partial credit awarded for your workings. A single slip in a formula, and you lose the entire mark. So consider this explainer a direct intervention. Today, we are going to fix the 5 critical calculation errors that consistently cost candidates the most marks. We're going to stop you failing on technicalities so you can finally join the 53% who pass. Let's get straight into it.
We kick things off with error number 1, not flexing the budget. Because P1 gives you 0 partial credit, starting any calculation with the wrong base completely ruins the entire question. Think about it like baking. Comparing your actual costs on the factory floor to an unflexed original budget is a bit like comparing the cost of baking 100 cakes to your original budget for baking 50 cakes. It tells you absolutely nothing useful about your cost control or your efficiency, because the volumes are just completely mismatched. The trap here is quite common. Under the intense ticking pressure of the exam clock, candidates often just take their actual results and compare them directly to the original fixed budget. This is a total disaster because it mixes up volume effects with operational efficiency. You end up calculating a completely meaningless variance. And guess what? The examiner has specifically planted that exact wrong answer as a distractor option, waiting for you to click it. The fix is fundamental. You must always flex the budget to the actual volume before you even think about computing your variances. You have to adjust your initial allowances to perfectly match what you actually produced on the day. Only then can you compare that adjusted allowance to your actual costs. Doing this strips away the volume difference entirely, leaving you with a pure, crystal clear look at your true operational performance. Right, moving straight on to error number 2, the planning and operational split. Specifically, using the wrong standard. This is a massive trap and a huge source of lost marks. Candidates constantly mix up when they should be using the original, or ex-ante standard, and when to use the revised, or ex-post standard. It is incredibly easy to get tangled up in the heat of the exam room. Why does this happen so often? Well, usually it's because the examiner throws a massive wall of text at you. The dates blur together, the different prices start swimming on the screen, and under that pressure, candidates panic and just grab the wrong number. The fix here relies on a golden rule that you simply must memorize. Say it to yourself until it sticks. Operational variances strictly compare actual results to the revised standard only. Planning variances, on the other hand, look purely at what changed between the original plan and the revised standard. Never, ever mix them up. Moving right along, we arrive at error number 3, the throughput contribution trap. This is a fascinating one, because it's where your natural instincts as a well-trained accounting student will actually sabotage you the moment a throughput accounting question appears on your screen. If you've spent weeks highly training yourself on marginal costing, you instinctively want to subtract all your variable costs to find your contribution. But here's the catch. In throughput accounting, only direct materials are considered truly variable. Why is that? Think about the reality of modern manufacturing. In a highly automated modern factory, you don't send your salaried factory workers home just because a machine breaks down or demand drops for a Tuesday afternoon, do you? That labor cost doesn't fluctuate based on daily output. It is a sunk fixed operating expense. So the crucial fix is this. Throughput contribution equals selling price minus direct material cost only. If you deduct labor in a throughput question, you fall right into the examiner's absolute favorite trap. Error number 4 is limiting factor ranking. A resource shortage changes the game entirely, and candidates constantly forget to adjust their approach when they see this.
In these limiting factor questions, if you try ranking your products by standard contribution per unit, you will generate a completely wrong production mix. You might eagerly pick a product that makes great money on paper, but in reality, it absolutely drains your scarce resource. Think about this micro-example. If product A makes you $100 but takes 5 hours to build, it's generating $20 per hour of your time. If product B makes only $50 but takes just 1 hour to build, product B is actually the far smarter choice for your bottleneck, giving you $50 an hour. The fix? You must always rank by contribution per unit of the limiting factor. You divide the total contribution by the constraint, meaning you rank by contribution per kilogram of material or per machine hour. This tells you exactly how efficiently a product converts your scarce resource into cold, hard cash.
Error number 5 addresses risk and uncertainty, working left to right on decision trees. This specific error stems from a very common and frankly fatal psychological bias. Candidates instinctively tackle these problems by moving from left to right, simply because reading left to right is how we've been taught to process text our entire lives.
But think about the core logic of a decision tree for a second. You simply cannot make a rational, mathematically sound decision today until you know the financial value of the subsequent chance outcomes that are going to happen tomorrow. The fix is to strictly use the rollback method. You have to work backwards, moving deliberately from right to left. First, compute the expected values at the chance nodes on the far right of the tree. Then, as you roll back to the left, you select the maximum financial values at the decision nodes to identify your true optimal strategy.
Right, Section 2, the product scenario. We are going to spend the rest of our time systematically dismantling error 2 using this deep dive materials variance scenario. This is exactly where error 2 frequently strikes in the exam, causing cascading calculation failures that destroy your score.
Let's clearly lay out the scenario details and tell the story of what actually happened in this business. At the start of the year, our original standard was a bit of a dream scenario. We planned for 7 kilograms of material per unit at a cost of $4 per kilogram. But as the year progressed, severe supplier difficulties completely changed our reality. We had to sit down and create a revised, realistic standard acknowledging this chaos. The new standard is 8 kilograms per unit, but at a slightly cheaper new price of $3.80 per kilogram. Then we have our actuals. On the factory floor, we produced an actual output of 1,400 units, using 11,000 actual kilograms of material, resulting in a total actual cost of $41,500. To solve this perfectly and never drop a mark, we are going to build a 4-column framework. Let's build our first pillar, column 1. This is strictly for our actuals. Actual quantity multiplied by actual price. We already know from the scenario data that the total for this is $41,500. Nice and easy. Next, we build column 2, which serves as the crucial bridge from our actual usage to our revised prices. This is actual quantity multiplied by the revised standard price. Let's do the maths together. That is our actual 11,000 kilograms multiplied by the revised standard price of $3.80. Walk through that multiplication mentally. 11,000 times $3.80 gives us a total of $41,800 for column 2. Now that we have our first 2 columns, we can start generating our operational variances. The difference between column 1 and column 2 beautifully isolates the operational price variance. We take the $41,500 from column 1 and we subtract the $41,800 from column 2. This leaves us with a variance of $300 favorable. Our purchasing manager actually did a brilliant job here. In reality, they paid $41,500, but the revised standard, given all that supplier chaos, allowed them to pay $41,800 for that exact amount of material. That is a solid $300 favorable result. Moving on, let's reveal column 3. This is the revised standard quantity multiplied by the revised standard price. The revised standard quantity, or RSQ, is the absolute key that unlocks this whole table. It answers a vital question. Based on our actual factory output of 1,400 units, how much material should we have used under the new rules? Well, 1,400 units times the revised allowance of 8 kilograms gives us a revised standard quantity of 11,200 kilograms. Multiply that 11,200 kilograms by the revised standard price of $380, and column 3 totals $42,560. Now we calculate the operational usage variance. This is the difference between column 2 and column 3. We take our $41,800 minus $42,560, yielding $760 favorable. But why is it favorable? Because operations actually used 11,000 kilograms of material, which is strictly fewer than the revised standard allowed of 11,200 kilograms. Now I want you to stop the table build for just a second. If you take only one single thing away from this entire explainer, let it be this. Red alert. When you cross the invisible line from the operational side to calculating your planning variances, you must anchor your calculations on the revised standard quantity of 11,200 kilograms. You must never, under any circumstances, use the actual quantity of 11,000 kilograms. Why? Because the planning variance measures what changed in the abstract plan itself. It is completely and utterly isolated from how the operations team actually performed on the day. If you mistakenly drag actual factory quantities into a planning variance, you produce a mathematically incorrect split. The logic falls apart, and you will fail the question. Let's resume the table with that golden rule firmly in our minds and calculate the planning price variance. This compares the revised plan's cost to the original plan's cost securely anchored on that RSQ. We take our anchored column 3, which is the RSQ multiplied by the RSP, sitting at $42,560. Now we subtract the RSQ multiplied by the original standard price. That's our 11,200 kilograms times the original $4 per kilogram, which equals $44,800. Step by step, the maths is $42,560 minus $44,800, leaving us with $2,240 favorable. Finally, let's finish off our framework with column 4, original standard quantity multiplied by original standard price. For our 1,400 actual units, the original dream plan dictated 7 kilograms per unit at $4 per kilogram. So 1,400 units times 7 kilograms gives us 9,800 kilograms. Multiply that by $4, and column 4 totals $39,200. The planning usage variance is the difference between the cost of the revised quantity and the cost of the original quantity. That's $44,800 minus $39,200, which gives us a massive $5,600 adverse. And with that, our 4 columns and 4 variances are flawlessly completed.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to remember that surviving CIMA P1 is fundamentally a reps problem, it's not a knowledge problem. Understanding the detailed breakdown we've just done is a fantastic first step, but the only way to stop these silly calculation errors from happening under intense exam pressure is high-volume, timed practice. You have to build your calculation accuracy until it literally becomes pure muscle memory. Use our question banks and mock exams to rigorously and honestly test yourself. Stop losing marks on technicalities. So, take a hard look at your study schedule right now. Are you just passively reading textbooks, or are you aggressively drilling these 5 traps under timed conditions? The choice you make today directly decides which side of that statistic you'll land on exam day. Put in the reps, do the hard work, and join the 53% who pass.
So there you have it, the 5 errors that quietly sink P1 candidates. Not flexing the budget, mixing up the planning and operational standards, deducting labor in throughput, or ranking by the wrong unit, and reading decision trees the wrong way around. But knowing them isn't enough. P1 isn't a knowledge problem, it's a reps problem. The only way to stop these errors under exam pressure is to drill them under their muscle memory. That's exactly what our P1 question bank and mock exams are built for. Full practice under timed conditions, so you walk in calm instead of panicking. The link's in the description. Put in the reps, fix that 5, and land on the right side of that pass rate. Good luck, and you got this!